Wisconsin's Maxwell House Coffee Ford used a strong performance in the second half of the season to earn his spot as one of the top 10 drivers in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Sterling Marlin earned 5 pole positions in 1992, including both races at Daytona, both Darlington events, and the Die Hard 500 at Talladega. While still chasing that elusive first victory, second-place finishes at Martinsville, Daytona, and Talladega are proof he's ready to find his spot in victory lane. Making his third trip to the podium, please welcome the 1983 Rookie of the Year and 10th place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings from Columbia, Tennessee, Sterling Marlin. Three-time Winston Cup champion Darrell Waltrip has not lost the desire to win, and neither has his car owner. This was a season of change and a place of honor in the Winston Cup record books for the driver of the Western Auto Chevrolet. Following a win at the Pocono 500 in July, veteran crew chief Jake Elder joined the team and helped DW to back-to-back wins at Bristol and the Mountain Dew Southern 500 in Darlington, the latter giving Darrell 84 career wins and a tie with Bobby Allison for third in the all-time standings. Darrell drove to 10 top 5 finishes from coast to coast on short tracks and super speedways, proving he's a contender every time he fires the engine. Finishing 9th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings, please welcome the 2-time NASCAR most popular driver and owner of the Western Auto Chevrolet, from Franklin, Tennessee, Darrell Waltrip. Last year's Winston Cup runner-up, Ricky Rudd, put together one of 1992's most consistent seasons in his Tide Chevrolet. Rudd and his team hit their stride in April, finishing 5th at Darlington, 6th at Bristol, and 3rd at North Wilkesboro. Top 5 finishes throughout the season were common to this former NASCAR Rookie of the Year, including a 4th at Sears Point and 5th at Michigan in June. Then, Ricky heated up the super speedways in July with back-to-back 4th-place finishes at Pocono and Talladega. Rudd brought his Tide car to victory lane, cleaning up at Dover, and solidly put himself in the points race. With 18 top 10 finishes, the most of any driver this season, and finishing 7th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings, ladies and gentlemen, here is the man behind the wheel of Rick Hendrick's Tide Chevrolet. From Chesapeake, Virginia, Ricky Rudd. The powerful combination of Mark Martin and his Roush Racing Ford returns to the podium here tonight for the 4th year in a row. After finishing 3rd at Darlington, Martin was one of several drivers on the short track at Martinsville. The beginning of the summer stretch saw Martin come home 3rd at Sears Point and runner-up at Pocono, putting him back into contention for the Winston Cup Championship. Mark climbed as high as 4th in the standings and sustained that with 4 runner-up finishes in the second half of the season, plus another win at Charlotte in October. Tonight, here's our 6th-place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup standings. Please welcome from the Jack Roush stable of Valvoline Fords, the man who does his Sunday driving in a souped-up family car. From Batesville, Arkansas, Mark Martin. In a season highlighted with his famous father's fan appreciation tour, Kyle Petty has successfully captured his own spotlight in Winston Cup racing. Together with owner Felix Sabates, Kyle's Mellow Yellow Pontiac team turned into a lean, mean fighting machine in 1992. Kyle found his need for speed early, finishing 6th at Daytona and winning the pole at Rockingham. But it was the second half of the 1992 season where Kyle began his reign. Following the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, Petty raced for 12 top 7 finishes. Pit strategy put him in victory lane at Watkins Glen, and total track savvy at Rockingham put him in the hunt for the championship. Finishing with the most points in the second half of the season, he comes to the podium tonight for the first time since joining Sabates 4 years ago. The pilot of the Mellow Yellow Pontiac, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the 5th-place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup standings. From Randleman, North Carolina, Kyle Petty. During the 1991 offseason, the anticipation began to build. On the horizon for 1992 was a new super team with the names Elliott and Johnson at the front. For Winston Cup fans, it doesn't get any bigger than that. And the new powerhouse didn't disappoint anyone. Bill Elliott's Budweiser Ford blew in as a lion on March 1st. Beginning at Rockingham and ending at Darlington, Elliott dominated with 4 straight wins, tying the modern-day record. The words super speedway and Elliott are synonymous, and it was on these tracks that Bill posted consistent top 5 finishes before and after he inherited the points lead in August. Bill never looked back until he found himself out of the running at Phoenix. One of a trio that set the stock car racing world on edge, Elliott entered Atlanta knowing he needed to lead every lap possible, and win the race. Elliott can say that he did all he could to win the Winston Cup. In a sport of miles, it came down to a sport of inches. Victory lane was his at Atlanta. Tonight, we welcome the 1988 NASCAR Winston Cup champion and this year's runner-up, driver of the Budweiser Ford owned by Junior Johnson. From Dawsonville, Georgia, Bill Elliott.
Alan, I can't believe this night happened in my lifetime. I watched you grow from a young man with ambition to drive into a national champion, and you did it without help of many around you. I know you've set some high goals in your life, and you have accomplished that high goal. I'm proud of you as your father, and I'm proud to call you champion.
Tonight, we are about to honor a man uniquely individual to the sport of Winston Cup racing. This new champion spawned from the ranks of Midwest short track racing, and from the very beginning, Alan Kulwicki had a plan. He would do it right, and he would do it on his own. There is something fascinating about a man who is willing to take such a gamble, a risk, although it really is no different from the willpower needed to succeed in racing. The NASCAR dream of Kulwicki's began to focus 6 years ago tonight when he was named 1986 Rookie of the Year. With this accomplishment, Alan continued to work night and day, finding sponsors, building race cars, running his race team. Entering victory lane was several years in the future, but it was in the plan. When victory beckoned, Alan showed stock car fans his feeling of triumph in a very uncommon way. Becoming a Winston Cup champion was forthcoming. It was now the sole focus of the plan. As is tradition when the curtain rises on a new Winston Cup season, names of drivers are debated as potential champions some 11 months away. In the maverick mind of Alan Kulwicki, the plan was about to unfold. The Hooters Ford that rolled out of the independent shop was very fast. Kulwicki guided it to the pole 6 times in 1992 on short tracks and super speedways, and in the lead at the end of the first lap in each of those races was Alan. As they say, every point counts. As the season progressed, Kulwicki was often overshadowed by his other Ford competitors, but his rise in the points was steady. From 11th to 7th to 5th to 3rd. Along the way, he coolly came away the victor in the utmost of driving challenges, 500 laps at Bristol. Solidly locked in the top 5 in points, Alan won again at Pocono, leading the most laps, getting the most out of every mile. Out of 29 events, Kulwicki finished every race but 2. 17 times he maximized his race day with a top 10 finish, and suddenly, the name Kulwicki was one of only 6 whose championship vision could become reality. For the man with the quiet confidence, there was one last game plan. Whoever said it isn't over till it's over didn't know Alan Kulwicki. As the largest ever sporting event crowd in Georgia and millions more watched on television, the history books began to be rewritten. It really would be this close. Out of 11,500 miles of racing, it really did come down to these last few laps. And finally, the winner was not the fastest car, but the one with the best strategy, the best plan. Alan Kulwicki had conquered more than the pinnacle of motorsports, but as America waited, this new star let his actions once again speak louder than words. Tonight, we salute a man who is a winner in more ways than one. For nowhere but in America can a man with a plan achieve his dreams doing it his way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Alan Kulwicki.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he